Hey all, welcome to the Military Wire with Mike Schindler. This is the podcast where we interview some of America's most elite men and women who have served this country. We share their stories, we share their proven lessons in leadership, in overcoming, and their journey to finding mission and purpose. Today's guest is Michael Rod Rodriguez, goes by Rod, president and CEO of the Global War on Terror Memorial Foundation, of which President George W. Bush just recently joined your board. Rod, welcome to the show.
No, hey, thanks a lot for having me. I'm really excited for the conversation, Mike.
Yeah, no, great to have you. Rod, you've got an impressive background. I mean, you served as a Special Forces sniper course instructor. You were a medic. Obviously, you were a sniper, part of the Green Beret Foundation, Veterans Advisory Council. I mean, the list goes on. And now you're leading the team at the Global War on Terror Memorial Foundation. You know, Rod, you got an amazing background, one that, you know, many that have served look at you and probably put you on a pedestal. But talk to us a little bit about your story. What's your story? How did you tell us a little bit about your service story, but then how you got involved in all these amazing projects?
Yeah, so I'm just a regular guy. I mean, I'm just a skinny kid from New Mexico, man. That's what I tell people. You know, but growing up, my first heroes really were my father, Vietnam veteran, my grandfathers both served in World War II, you know, and I always looked up to that. I always aspired to that, you know. I mean, I really, they were like my first heroes before like comic book heroes, you know. So when I had the very first opportunity when I graduated high school when I was 16, so I had to wait a little bit before I could join the Army, and I joined when I was 17 years old, left the late entry, left when I turned 18. I call it a blessing, but, you know, just a few months after I enlisted in the Army, actually less than a year, I was deployed to Somalia. And, that was kind of set the tone for me as far as, realizing one, I think I chose the right profession. It wasn't a job. I saw it as a profession. And two, I saw the far-reaching, impact of serving in the military, you know. Obviously it culminated with me being, you know, Special Forces, Green Beret, medic, and a sniper, and all the other hats I used to wear. But, you know, really good at hunting down bad guys, but that's not really all we did. You know, I saw the humanitarian side. I saw the positive aspects of freeing people from oppression and stuff like that. So I did that for a bit, but in my first two deployments, I always came across like Green Berets, and I'd see them. I saw them in Somalia. One thing I remember most is they weren't wearing all the stuff we were wearing, and they had a pet monkey, which I thought was so cool, you know. And then I saw them again in Haiti, you know, a couple years after that, you know, when the United States restored democracy in the country of Haiti. I was part of that. And I saw him again, and I decided, you know, throw my hat in the ring, see what happens. I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity. I was selection made it. Graduated from the Q course. A little bit after I graduated Q course, of course, 9/11 happened. And that, you know, kind of pushed not just Special Forces or Special Operations, but, you know, all those that wore our nation's uniform in a direction and towards the global war on terror. And then, you know, it culminated with so I got hurt a few times. I joke around a bit, you know, I haven't blown up much time, but I kept all my pieces. I like to joke, like, I'm a roach, you know, I just kept coming back. You know, I probably should have died a long time ago. Maybe I was too ignorant or stubborn too. But, you know, injuries caught up with me, and I was medically retired about 5 years ago. My wife retired. She was an active duty senior NCO as well. She was a 68 Whiskey combat medic. She retired last year after 21 years. My oldest son, who's an airborne infantryman here at Fort Bragg, I live in Fayetteville. He just got home from his first deployment in Afghanistan. That's 16 deployments for my family. No. So it's just kind of what we do. You know, we love it. We're not special, but we don't look at ourselves like, oh, we're all, no, by no means. You know, we're just trying to do our part, you know. And then that's kind of how I look at it, is serving something bigger than yourself. And that all started with my very first deployment to Somalia in 1993.
No kidding. Wow. And you've got, I mean, your whole family serves. It's so impressive that your wife and your son, and I mean, this is part of your DNA. I mean, this is part of your DNA, brother. Thank you for that. I mean, truly. And thank your wife and your son. I mean, you know, carrying on the tradition. That's a big deal. That, you know, I want to touch on something, you know, transition to civilian life. You the studies show that transition to civilian life, not necessarily combat or the multiple deployments, is one of it's one of the leading causes to stress amongst our brothers and sisters. They struggle with finding a new sense of mission and purpose. How did both you and your wife make that transition to civilian life easier? How did you guys do it?
Right. So my transition and my wife's transition could not have been any more polar opposites of each other. I mean, they were completely opposite. See, I retired 5 years ago. As I mentioned, it was a medical retirement. I didn't want to get out. I did not. I saw myself. That was it. The hardest thing I ever had to hear was when I was at Walter Reed. I was hospitalized there for a while. And one of the doctors came and told me, he goes, hey, Rod, you can no longer perform your duties as a Special Forces Green Beret. We are initiating medical retirement proceedings. That was the hardest. That's like a quote. That's exactly. I mean, I said that. I could still see the doc telling me that.
Yeah.
And for me, it was that stripped away my identity. It stripped away everything that I had done. My entire adult life had been in service of this country, trying to continual pursuit of excellence, which led me to Special Forces and led me to go to become a sniper or the medic, the hardest of the special forces specialties. And the others that are listening will probably be upset when we say that. But academically, being that 18 Delta is far harder than anything else. And then choosing the hard path really, and not so much for any prestige, but because of the challenge. I love a challenge. But when they told me that, I was, like I said, I was stripped away of everything. And being in the military, whether it's 4 years or 21 years like myself, there's a reason we feel like that. There really is, because we're asked to do certain things that, most could not do, or most would never do. So it's part of it. It imparts us. It empowers us to do all those amazing things that I saw my brothers and sisters do, not just overseas, but even training, even here back stateside. They're such high functioning individuals, amazing performers. Well, that's what we do. But in one of the, I don't know, kind of a consequence, but one of the side effects, I suppose, of that is that we that's called our master identity. It's who we think we are. Never mind the fact we're a husband, a wife, a father, a brother, a sister, a son. Never mind all the other stuff, which I think is more important now. But that's what we identify. So when we're leaving that, it's like we're leaving ourselves. And it, for me, it was very difficult. I was already, I was in the hospital. I was already, self-medicating, dealing with my stresses. So I was already an alcoholic. I mean, it was not, it was worse. It was awful. It was not good. Not bueno at all.
Yeah.
So that was
not
my
uncommon,
transition.
right, Rod? I mean, that's not uncommon.
Definitely not.
You weren't going down a unique path. I mean, this is something that a lot of our brothers and sisters struggle with. So tracking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, 100%. It's very common. So, I struggled for a couple of years. I stayed in the fight, and somehow I had to remind myself that, find something bigger than yourself. You can still serve. Albeit I had 21 years in the Army, that wasn't just me. It just helped create the man I am today. Everything, and so did my childhood, and so did my adolescence. So did everything. So if you view it in that aspect, there was a moment I sat there. I'm like, wow, I'm no good to anybody else if I'm not good to myself. It was actually a really good friend of mine told me that. So I was like, well, let me find something more. So I started serving. I was like, well, who was there to help me? And I started volunteering with very different veteran service organizations, and just volunteering my time, because that's their greatest asset. By no means I have a fat bank account, but I still value my time. That is far more important and the greatest asset we all have. So I started investing that back into the community, when I say community, I mean not just the veteran, but the civilian community, volunteering and local Boy Scouts. If you want to change the world, you got to start with yourself. You want to make the world a better place. I say that every morning I wake up, I want to make the world a better place somehow. And sometimes it's as simple as a smile,
Amen.
So I got involved more in giving back and serving, and then it turned into, what I'm doing today, I suppose.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned your wife. So you said polar opposites. So does she just transition and had no problem? She's like, Rod, let me show you how this is done.
So it was the other way around. I was like, hey, she was ready to retire. So obviously my transition she shared. You don't you're arrogant or conceited if you think if you're serving in the uniform and your family's serving. Your family serves. It is what it is. That's your powerful unit. But so she saw what I went through, and I learned at that point. It had been 4 years post transition for me. I had figured it out. I was like, hey, this is what worked for me. But I didn't tell her. I'm no transition expert by any means. And I think that there's a lot of people claim that, but I showed her, and I mentor a lot of veterans in the transition. I say, hey, this is what worked for me. This is what didn't work for me. This is what I did. But I don't tell them. I never dictate steps. I don't ever say, do this, because it's wholly unique. Everyone's different. Everyone has different needs and different fights that they engage in every day. There's different obstacles in their way. So I just provide guidance. This is what worked for me. Maybe this, maybe that, but make it your own. Yeah. Just like when you learn, someone gives you information, you're like, all right, how can I figure that out? They told me how to do it. That's the steps, but let me figure out a better way or what's going to work best for me. It's like when I taught at the sniper course here as a sniper instructor for just short of 6 years. So I knew the fundamentals, so I would lay the students down and give it to them, but I also allowed them to take it and make it their own and be more comfortable. A comfortable shooter is a better shooter. As long as they follow the principles and guidelines I provided, they were far better, and my students had a great pass rate, not because I'm a great instructor, because I allowed them to make it their own. I didn't make them do it exactly like this. So, that's kind of what I did with my wife. I said, this works, this didn't work. And then I at that point, I knew a bunch of resources that I didn't know existed when I was transitioned, and I provided them to her. And she did a lot better than I did.
No, that's awesome. That's cool. Well, I love that. I mean, she just essentially stood on the shoulders of a giant and said, hey, listen, I'm going to learn from your mistakes. I'm going to get a better view of this, and I'm not going to make the same mistakes. Yeah,
I don't know if they're stepping on the shoulders of a giant, and more like, I'm not going to do what that idiot did. I'll pick that.
Hey, man. No, I totally get it. I get it. I totally get it. I got to tell you, Rod, I was looking over your profile, and I love what you have on your LinkedIn profile, and hopefully, people can follow you there on your LinkedIn profile. But continuing my service to others, first through established leadership in the military and civilian communities through teamwork and collaboration. Loved that. Love that. I mean, you're talking about pulling. I mean, you're going back to one team, one fight. Listen, we might be veterans, we might be individuals that have served this country. But it's going to take the community to solve the issues, and that means people that have served and people that have served in other capacities, maybe not in uniform. And I love that collaboration piece. That's the best way to do it, because if I don't have all the answers, and I'm always learning, I try and learn something new every day, and if you surround yourself with people that are thirsting, have that thirst for learning or want to be a better person, that pursuit of excellence that I talked about a minute ago, you're gonna be a better person yourself, and if you're giving, it's gonna make you better, and you're gonna learn. It's just community. I look at it. So a lot of my brothers, a lot of the guys in the special operations community. Well, let's just say something. I don't want to say a lot. I don't want to brag short this statement, but some of them look down upon some of our support guys. I never did that. I did not. I've never looked at anybody that wore the uniform and asked them, or looked at their chest, or looked at what tabs they had, and thought they were less than I was. I would never. It's just not being a good person, they're not going to want to work for you if they think you're better than them. So I always treated everyone the exact same. I never saw anybody, because I couldn't have done my job without them. And that translated to, when I started operating with those that didn't wear the uniform either. I don't ever look down on anybody or think they had any less patriotism than me or my family because they didn't wear the uniform. There's so many other good ways to be a good patriotic American citizen. Follow laws, pay your taxes, be a good person. Help people out, serve your community. Just be good. To me, that's being a patriot. I think really it is. Not everyone has to put on a uniform and pick up a gun and go into harm's way. Some of us did it and loved it. I miss it every day. I'm not going to lie about that. But
there's other ways to be better. And if you bring people together and treat everyone the same, people are definitely gonna. That's how you empower others, in my opinion.
Oh, it's so true. You know, it's interesting you say that, and this is not a plug for Tim Kennedy's show, but I don't know if you know Tim Kennedy, who does. He was hunting Hitler, right, and then in pursuit of Hitler or something like that, and then he's on this hard to kill, and he took that same philosophy, which was, hey, listen, you know, I've got special ops background, sniper. I'm sure you guys know each other. And now he's out there in America doing the hardest jobs that normal everyday Americans do, and bringing attention to them. And when I asked Tim, do you prep for these jobs? Like, do you get, like, here's your assignment and you got 3 weeks to prepare for this? He's like, no, I get the assignment and I got to go and do it to see if I can do it. And it's crazy.
Tim's doing great stuff, and we do know each other, so it is a small world. Tim served in 7 Special Forces Group. That's the group I served in. But remember, I told you I was a sniper instructor for a period of time. Tim was one of my students.
Is that right? No kidding?
I know who Tim is. Yeah, we run into each other quite a bit. So Tim's a friend of mine.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I told Tim, I said, originally I thought I could do that show, Hard to Kill, and then I saw it, and I'm like, hell no. Not doing it. Nope, I'm out. I'm ringing the bell. I'm out on that one. So, yeah, that's crazy stuff. So, again, bravo Zulu to you guys that want to do that stuff. But
no, it's just, But, yeah, you're right. I mean, to the point of, it's just, you treat everyone the same, and that's how you build teams. Really, that's it. So there's 3 things I always look for when building a team, and it's, I carry it to today with building a team at the GWOT Memorial Foundation. I look for ability. Is someone able to bring something to the table? Can they do this? Are they able to, second is credibility. Are they the right person to be on this team? Should they be on the team, or are they not? And the third thing is humility. If you look at the pillars, I would call that my center pillar of humility. But all those sit on a foundation of trust. If you have those 4 things together, I mean, there's an anything you can't do in this world.
I love that. Man, that is so powerful. That's good. That's good. Well, I want to switch gears a little bit, and I think you and I both remember where we were when September 11th happened. And, I think nearly 3 million Americans have deployed in support of the global war on terror. And, close to 7,000 have been killed, 52,000 wounded in action, and 20% of our veterans, returning home with some form of invisible wounds of war, PTSD, traumatic brain injury. That was a monumental event, an occurrence in America for us. And now you are at the Global War of Terror Foundation, and you're getting ready to pay tribute. You're in the planning stages of establishing a tribute, a memorial. Talk to us about that. Why is this important? Number 2, number 1, but number 2, I mean, what can people do to get involved? I mean, this is...
Yeah, sure, great. I'm the president and CEO of the Global War on Terror Memorial Foundation. We've been around about 3 years, and we wanted to build a big group of like-minded veterans came together saying, hey, we need a memorial, we need a monument to honor the service and sacrifice of all those that have supported our nation's longest war. However, in order for us to accomplish that, we had to change in 2017 federal law. The Commemorative Works Act of 1986 stated that a war had to be over for a period of 10 years in order for a national war memorial to be built. Now, our very first national war memorial was the Vietnam War. And this was, our lawmakers' response to that. So if we would have followed that law, we would never... I don't know if there's any end in sight for the global war on terror, but we would never have a national war memorial to provide us the opportunity to come together, to provide that point of unity, to provide that point of healing, as well as education that I think we all, as Americans, need to learn about the current conflict, what's the history of it, and where's it going. So if you can imagine this happened in 2017, we introduced some legislation, and it passed in 6 months. And President Trump signed our bill into law August of 2017, the Global War on Terrorism War Memorial Act, authorizing us, or exempting us really from the Commemorative Works Act of 1986, and allowing us to build a national Global War on Terror memorial in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital, on the front lawn. So that's the endeavor I'm in right now, and we're in the stages right now of building our program. I have to go before various planning commissions and commissioners in D.C., and it's a 24-step process. and we're in steps 9 through 12, which is site selection. And we're building a program to establish this historical significance so we can get Area 1, which is the National Mall area. There's rules and regulations in place, and I'm not kicking in doors or breaching doors or jumping in through windows. We're doing this the right way, and a collaborative effort. I think you kind of understand a little more of my leadership philosophy and how I do things. Bringing the people together, and that bill, when it passed, it went through the fact it passed 6 months unanimously, bipartisan. The politics are out. There shouldn't be politics in veteran issues.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's kind of where we're at right now, and we're hoping for a 2022 groundbreaking and a dedication in 2024.
No kidding. That is so awesome, man. I love that next mission. And it's so important too. I would tell you that when my city did not have, we had like this little small tribute to veterans. Like most cities have a veterans plaza of some sort, and our city didn't have one. And we eventually worked to get that passed and raised the money and did all that stuff. And I would tell you, it's like a sanctuary. It's a place for people to reflect and sit and reflect. And I think that's what you're talking about doing with this as well, right? Is just paying tribute.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, and I think one thing that's important, so, you hear this, one thing I'm hoping to change or really address and have the discussion begin really is, so at any given time, 1% of our population is wearing the uniform right now. 1% protecting 99%. And generally when you say that to people, everyone looks at it as a bad. They're like, oh my gosh. It's almost like people jump to the conclusion that, and the perception is wrong, and then not enough patriotic people can do it, or there's not enough patriotism, and that is the complete opposite. I look at that number being part of that 1%, or a family of that 1%, obviously. I'm proud. I'm extremely proud that it only takes 1% to protect the 99%. But that speaks to strength, resiliency, flexibility, and self-service of that 1%. So we owe it to that 1%. However, one of the consequences of that is that today, in World War II, 11% of the population served. Korea was 7%. Vietnam was 4%, and we're at 1% right now, or depending on the numbers, however you look at it, 4 million have worn the uniform since 9/11.
Yep.
So, you look at that, that means there's a lot of people in this country that don't know a veteran, don't know anybody that deployed, this is so far detached. So there's a narrative that's tossed around and it's completely wrong, civilian-military divide. We do not have a civilian-military divide. My father, when he came home from Vietnam, experienced a civilian-military divide. What we have today is a misunderstanding. So what we plan to do, and I hope to do with the building of this memorial, is to help, educate everybody about what it is that we're doing. Who are the people that serve? And it's not just yes, it is a very small group of a small percentage of our citizens that are doing this. But if you look at my son's platoon here in the 82nd Airborne Division here, Fort Bragg. If you look at the demographics of his platoon, whatever social label they take on, their sexuality, their sex, their race, creed, religion, whatever social label they take on, or however many religions, you are not going to find a more diverse working group in any organization in the country. The most diverse and inclusive organization in existence is the United States military.
That's so true.
So in essence, that 1%, we're a direct reflection of the 99%. So there's no difference. We're the mirror image of our nation's citizens. But people don't really think about like that, or they don't understand that. Those are other things that we're hoping to educate, everybody within this country. And there's some studies that have been done on some Vietnam veterans that were fighting post-traumatic stress, dealing with post-traumatic stress, and they did a research study on of them visiting the Vietnam veterans well. And there's actually studies showing that their symptoms decreased. The more often they went to visit this memorial, the better they felt. The decrease of their symptoms that existed. And I'm putting together some other stuff to help us to get that message out and show the true impact of building a memorial. It's a point of unity. It's a point of healing. It's a point of education. The second pillar effects of that is to remind everybody in this country, whoever you think you are, whatever you are, you're an American citizen. I want to provide an opportunity for everyone to remember what it was like after the towers fell, after the Flight 93 crash, after the Pentagon was hit. of course, you know, it was tragic, but I want everyone to remember what it felt like to be an American that day. Yeah, that's what it was.
I mean, you're spot on. I mean, I talk about this all the time, you know, especially when it gets into politics, and I don't want to dive there, but it's you know, it's that one team, one fight, right? When that incident happened, we came together as a country, as Americans, not political parties, not as anything else, but truly as Americans, you know, helping our neighbor out, doing whatever we could to make sure that people were back on top. And I love that spirit that you're taking on with this, Rod. That's pretty awesome. That's what, you know, that's cool.
I'm humbled to do it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So what can people do to, you know, if they want to learn more or donate, you know, who do they visit? Can they follow you? I mean, where do they go?
So we're on social media, GWOT Memorial Foundation, on Instagram and Twitter, GWOTMF. You can find me on the social media channels as well. I'm on there like a teenager. You know, I'm on there all the time, you know, but it's just a great platform, really to empower others. So, yeah, they can just go on our website, as well, www.gwotmemorialfoundation.org or gwotmf.org, and learn about us. You know, we're in some exciting stages right now. And they can donate directly to the website, or they can just follow us. And we're developing some programs, hopefully to get more engagement from everybody, and just watch us and support us, really, and share the mission and start the conversation. You know, talk about it.
That's very cool. It's so cool. So, Rod, give us some final words on, you know, what advice do you have for those who are getting ready to transition? I mean, if there was one or two things you could say to them, what would it be?
Well, what I would what I tell people is, you know, just remember that your service in the military helped create this amazing individual that you are right now. It doesn't define you any more than your childhood defines you. You know, take what you learned, and you're defined by your actions, and honor that. Honor your service by showing everybody what the high-functioning individual that you really are.
That's cool. That's awesome advice. Rod, appreciate your time. Appreciate you being on the show, buddy.
Well, hey, thank you for having me. Really great conversation.
Yeah, you bet.